Hello! We are starting to see people roll in. We're so excited to have you here as we get to talk through the new things that we announced at Tithely next. And for a deep dive like this one, what we'll be doing is we will actually dive into two specific things that were talked about at next. That is the Giving app, which we have Nick White here. He'll be talking through that. And we have Julia here to talk through admin batch giving. So these two things are the things that we've chosen out of everything that was announced at Next, because these are two things that we'll be launching in the very, 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 very near future, and that we can demo them on QA. Whereas some of the things that we talked about next are probably a month plus out, and we don't yet have them in a place where it makes sense to go into a deep dive on those. Though at Q&A time at the end of this, which by the way, we will have a Q&A time, and you can see within the space that you, hopefully what you see within the space you're in now is a Q&A button that you can press. This is what we would love for you to use to ask questions about everything happening. We're going to run through both our presentation for the Giving app as well as for admin batch giving. And after both of those, we'll dive into questions. And I will actually be I'll be asking your questions to both Nick and Julia. But if I happen to know the answer as you ask it, I'll also just type an answer into the Q&A section so that we can just get that answered in the moment. So as people continue joining, and I probably shouldn't have dove into all that the first minute, I want to start this off in a way that's a little more lighthearted, a little less deep into our deep dive. And I want to ask a question that will awkwardly put Julia and Nick on the spot, because that's the kind of person I am. But the reason I'm asking it is I would love participation from all of you out there. Hopefully chat is working. I honestly haven't checked that. So I'm so good at asking people to do things that just doesn't work. So assuming that chat does function, I would love, hey, look at there. Thank you so much, Christina. I would love to know, what is your favorite thing about the start of summer? I'm going to give you all time to think, especially since poor Nick and Julie are going to be put on the spot, and they literally did have no idea I was going to do this, but I love doing this. This came to mind yesterday. For the first time this year, I actually worked outside for an hour. So I did my lunch, and then I got to work outside for an hour, picked a task where I could easily do it on my laptop and was just as efficient there. But oh my goodness, the beautiful weather, my kids running around. I love that. But the thing that's most special for me is getting to plant tomatoes. Yes, that sounds like a weird thing, but I love getting to plant something, getting to water it over the months, and then getting to watch my kids scavenge everything before I get to taste anything. So by far my favorite thing is just the backyard, summer rolling in like that. So Julia, I'm going to pass it off to you for you to tell us what your favorite thing about the start of summer is.
I definitely can hop in here. We have a big backyard with a bonfire and like a nice patio. And so definitely my favorite thing is what we all just refer to as back porch hangs. We'll text our friends on any night, at any time, and we'll be like, hey, we're all hanging out on the back porch. And everyone will come and the kids can run all over the backyard and we'll grill, and it's always just a really fun time to hang out as the sun's setting and into the night. It's just my favorite spot to be in our house for sure.
So since you're seeing the sunsets, I see that we had Sally said sunrises. Does that mean you're not up for the sunrises, or do you just not sleep?
I am not up to sunrise. I would rather stay up till like 2 a.m. hanging out than wake up at like 5 a.m. to watch the sunrise.
Nice. All right, Nick, hopefully we've given you adequate time. What is your favorite?
Yeah, it's great that Julia said that, because one of my favorite things is the fact that it's warm enough to sit on my porch in the morning when I wake up. I try to wake up before my son, so that means I'm usually waking up around 6 a.m. and I'm here in Massachusetts. So we get a very short window of the year where the mornings are warm enough to sit outside. And so in summer, it's nice to just wake up, go outside, have my coffee out there, just embrace the 20 minutes or so of silence that I get before chaos breaks loose in my house and my 3-year-old son wakes up.
Nice. Well, so we had Beverly say golf season, Nick. Is is this the best season for golf for you? Or do you actually, I know you have weirdities around golf for you of like maybe like playing in the snow. So is this the best time for you?
Thank you for asking me about my addiction. I have no problem playing golf in the snow, in the rain, in the sun, in the wind. So summer does not bring golf for me. I play golf as much as I can year round. As long as the course is open, I will be there. So it is great in the summer. Don't get me wrong. Very nice to be out on the golf course enjoying yourself in the warm weather, but temperature has no effect on my willingness to go out and play 18 holes.
Nice. Okay, well, Julia, if you don't mind, you can go ahead and start sharing as I transition us a bit here. So I assume all of you are here because you're able to see Tithely Next last week. And my goodness, we announced so many things last week. You'll see me peeking over here as I look at the list because there's so many. And I tried handwriting them to make this less awkward, but I can't read my own handwriting, which is beautiful. So the two big ones that we're going to be talking about. Well, actually, let me introduce us before I even dive into this. I'm John Holtkamp. I'm the group product manager for the finance side of the house, really the Tithely side of the house. And we have Julia Rhodes here. She works on the admin side. So in the product world, which is where all three of us live, we work with personas to help us understand like how we can help you best as a church. Since obviously we're working with churches. So we, on the finance side of the house at Tithely, we've determined that the best way that we can really do this and serve the church the best is to have someone focus specifically on the admin side, which is Julia. And that's why she's talking about admin batch giving. And then Nick White, he's focused on the donor side. So Nick spends all of his time thinking about the donor experience and making sure that everything is as easy, lowering the bar to make it as easy as possible for donors to be able to use Tithely products so that they can give to your church. So that's why we have Nick and Julia here because they both work on the team, but that's specifically why you'll see them even talking about the different products they're talking about. And that's why Nick's talking about the Giving app. So go ahead and switch to the next slide for me. Today, we're talking about admin batch giving and the Giving app, which, like I just said, but obviously a bunch of stuff was announced. We had check scanning announced, external organizations for donations announced for when people, a donor isn't directly giving, but it's being given through an external organization. We talked about the giving form, automatic app builder on the site side, sites and apps being subscribable from Breeze. I feel like I said that horribly, but you get the idea. All sorts of things, service planning. This deep dive is about Tithely, and specifically what we'll be talking about is the two items you see here. So if you have hopes for something else, if it's on the Tithely side, giving side, feel free to ask it in Q&A, and I may actually be able to answer it. But just so you know, the things we'll be diving deep into are these two. And in the first minute, if you weren't here on the first minute, the reason for that is because we want to be able to show products like what you see the entire experience. And these are the two that are like right on the cusp of rolling out. So there are things that we can really dive in to show you because we have them available to us to be able to demo them for you today. And thank you for your reminder, Andy. You are correct. And honestly, on a multi-times a week basis, I am reminded that. I apologize for stating it wrong, but trust me, we think about that. And even in my history of getting to work in church technology for 10 years, my entire time working there, I have been working with both churches and nonprofits, ministries, all sorts of things. So agree with you and thank you for calling that out. All right. Well, Julia, I'm going to hand it off to you to dive into admin batch giving.
Perfect. All right, guys. So first, I'm just going to go a little bit over some top level call outs for admin batch giving, and then I'm actually going to go into our demo account to be able to show you and demo what the admin batch giving experience is. If you watched next, you got like a little snippet of what it is, but I'm so excited to give a bit of a deeper dive here. So first of all, admin batch giving is a major update to our system. If you're familiar with Tithely, if you've been around for a long time, you know that we've been making a big push from the 1.0 area into the 2.0 area where everything is moving smoother. It's a seamless experience, and it's really where you want to be. And so one big part of getting out of 1.0 and into 2.0 was getting our admin batch giving into 2.0. And folks, we are doing it. So we are so excited to launch admin batch giving to you all. We know how often this is used, and so we wanted to create a really good experience for this. So this is a major update. This is into the Tithely giving area. So this is available to all Tithely giving customers as they go into their admin account. Another thing here that I wanted to briefly go over, I'll talk more as I demo, but I wanted to call out a few things that we had in mind when we were going through this. One, we wanted to create a good batching system. We had admin batch giving and it did create batches, but it didn't give you good visibility into those batches. So we wanted to be sure that we provided that visibility for you so that you could see everything that you're trying to batch into the system before actually pushing it in. So with that, we also wanted to make sure that we're able to associate donors to your entries correctly. So we added a few things and it made some updates. so that you can add a donor who may not be in the system, so that you could update a donor who may already be in the system, so that you could match some cash. So if you had all of your donations that you collected on Sunday and you had $202 just sitting around from the cash pass around, and you wanted to put that into the system, we also have it so that you can have loose cash as well. We also created this with some new logic in our system so that when you go through and when you actually add a batch here, our system will automatically use the information that you pulled from your entry and put it for your next entry. So for example, if I ran through and added this entry and I had the Fun Bee Women's Ministry and I chose the gift date to be 4/28, when I hit next entry, those will default and save so that then you just have less clicking around to do within your admin batch giving experience. Last thing that I wanted to briefly talk about before jumping into the actual demo is that we added the ability to commit batches. So you can have all of your batches, all of your entries within your batch, and then you click on commit batch. That allows you to actually have all of those transactions that are within that batch. If you wanted to wait until something processed, if you wanted to make sure you had all eyes on the right place, you could actually come back into a batch that has been uncommitted and commit that batch. By doing this, it does some great things. It marks those transactions as successful. It allows a donor to see those transactions on their donor history. It would allow those to show up on tax statements. And then it also allows you to actually send an email receipt to the donor saying that we have received your donation on Sunday. We also wanted to honor someone who might not be wanting to send out email receipts like that too. And so just giving the admin, you guys, all the power that we can. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into demoing what we have here going for us for admin batch giving. So you'll see admin batch giving here. You'll see that I'm in the batch table. So this is where all of your batches are going to exist. So this is just a new part of the sidebar here. And when you click on it, instead of going into 1.0, it'll come into this 2.0 space. So on this batch table, you'll be able to see a few things. You'll be able to see number of entries that are within a batch name that is customizable for you, a date that you're choosing, a location. So if you have multiple campuses that you want to make sure that you're entering batches for different campuses, you're able to see that too. Batch amount as well. You can see how much money is in each batch and the status of that batch, where you see that uncommitted or committed batch status. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start by adding a new batch. So I click up here on that add a new batch button. I'm able to choose what location that I want for that batch. And if I want a specific batch name, or we have a default as well. And so for this, I'm just going to call it the 430 deep dive. And then I can choose how I want to create this batch, which for right now is going to be that manual entry option. I'll hit create batch and continue, and it automatically pulls me into this batch entry screen. So from here, I can begin adding all of the entries that I might want. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about all of the donor options. So when I click here, I can click search for donor. I can create a donor if this donor that I have does not exist in the system. I can choose loose cash, and I also can choose unable to choose a donor. So if you have donors in your system or checks that you receive that you know that it's from someone, it's not loose cash, but you just want to associate that in the system, but not with a person, we also created that option too. These are what we are calling unmatched transactions. So just as an example, I'm going to go ahead and come in here and I'm going to choose a donor. John, I'm going to pick on you here and choose John Holcamp. Then you can go down here and hit payment type. Before I talk about that really quick, I also want to point out that you can even come in here if John Holcamp has given during that week, but had a new address or something like that, some sort of change, you can actually click on update address and you can actually input the new address into the system to update your address. We just wanted to make sure that admin batch giving was doing everything in one flow, in one system to account for all the different needs that you might have. So as I choose John Holcamp, you'll see that the payment type here listed is check. There's a few different options. There's check, there's cash, and there's processing a transaction. So for check, you can see the fields here are amount. So let's say John gave $200, and then all the funds would be listed here. So I can choose that general fund that the $200 was given to. I also can choose whatever check number I might want, and I can enter the gift date being last Sunday. I can even write in a memo. If I write in a memo here, that memo will be displayed for donors later. Once I do that, I can hit next entry. And you'll see everything flows over to this side here. This is our QA account, so we're testing some things. That fund should have populated here. But if I was in here and saw that I accidentally associated this with the wrong person, I can click in and I can come in here and click delete entry, and I can delete that and try again. And you can see that we're back to the beginning here. So another thing that I want to show here is I'm going to show how you can do a cash transaction too. Very similar to check. You can come in here and choose your amount. So if it was a $90 donation and you wanted to give it to the women's ministry, you can click here with that gift date. You'll see that the fund and the gift date actually automatically defaulted to what I had previously chosen. So I updated the fund, but that gift date is going to change as well. I hit next entry, and then that displays here on the right-hand side for that cash transaction with the fund of women's ministry and the date. You'll also see what's really cool about this side of the screen is that it shows the batch total and number of entries. We wanted to kind of create some checks and balances for you all. So if you have a stack of checks or cash that you want to enter into the system, and you know that the total for that batch is going to be $300, we want you to be able to very quickly and easily see that the total that you're adding is equating to what you're expecting, along with that number of entries as well. So the other option here for adding a transaction into the system will actually be for processing a transaction. So you could come in here and choose process a transaction. If that donor already has a payment method that is saved to their account on file, that will show here. If you needed to go ahead and change that payment method, maybe they have said that they want that to be a different payment method, you can choose that choose a different payment method, and you can opt to choose from their list of payment methods or even add a new payment method that might be something that they want. This is also helpful if you have an older member of your congregation, or just someone who doesn't really want to be giving themselves on an app. You could actually come in here and enter in their information for them to help them out, to allow them to process this transaction. So here I'm going to input that the amount for this transaction, I'm going to say that it's $100. It's still to that fund, women's ministry. And then you'll also see that there's some options here, recurring, cover the fees, or memo. So I can choose it if I do want to have a recurring gift and I do want to cover the fees. You can see that the amount shows there. And then I can choose my recurring schedule and however I want that day of the week to be. When I click on next entry, it's going to go through a flow that tells me that this recurring gift would actually show up within recurring gifts, because that's where you'll go to view all of the information. Just for this demo here, I'm going to make it not a recurring gift so that it shows here within here, so you can watch it kind of process. And so this processes, you can see that that gift is here on the side with that payment method being the card. One last thing I really want to run through before I pass it off is you could come in here, and if someone gave with a check, I think this is one of the coolest things that we have done with an admin batch giving, and it really sets up Tithely to be able to do more and more with this. I could come in here and I can choose check, and say on their check they wrote multiple different funds that they wanted that gift to be towards. I could come in here and say that they said $50 to the women's ministry. Then I can click on add another amount, because on that check they said $50 also to a different fund. Maybe it's Safari Sunday. right here. That's my favorite fund in this account. So then you can actually see how these amounts are broken down. And I have the option to delete one of those if I don't actually want that anymore. And then I can actually hit that next entry button with both of those displaying here on the right-hand side. So I say I have finished, I have $293.94 in this batch with 4 entries. I can go ahead and click on commit batch. And then it pops up to this screen that I talked about earlier. It just gives you a bit of a insight here to what happens when you commit a batch. So 1, those donations are marked successful within the transactions area. 2, the donors are able to actually view those donations from this batch in their donation history, which is a great thing for them to be able to have the viewability into what's happening with their transactions. Also, donations will appear in tax statements. So if you were to run quarterly tax statements, then these will all show, or yearly tax statements, these would all display. And then last but not least is that the donors with an email address on file will immediately receive an email receipt. If you're sitting there like, Julia, I don't want to send that. We also wanted to think through that option as well. So you can commit batch, send off an email and everything, or you can commit without sending an email receipt as well. And once you do that, that processes, you bring back to the batch table and you can see that batch listed here at the top of your screen. When you're in here, if you have even an uncommitted batch here and you want to quickly commit the batch because you know that's good to go, you can even commit here. Similar with it, with the same screens, with the same idea, just continuing that functionality throughout this product. All right, I think that's all for admin batch giving. Again, guys, we are so excited to bring this to you. We're so excited for how this is going to function and just all the opportunities that are going to come with admin batch giving. So from here, I'm going to pass it off over to Nick to talk through the giving app.
All right, thank you, Julia. Just share my screen real quick here. Okay, so it's my turn now to talk about, oh, I'm sorry, folks, pulled you out of that. To talk about the giving app itself. So this is a refresh of our current giving app that exists in the App Store. However, it's such a radical update and such a improvement over the old one. I'm actually kind of thinking of it as a brand new app. And so the reason that we've been working on this is because our goal on the giving side is to make giving quick, easy, and secure for all donors. And this app is really built with that goal in mind. So I'm going to very quickly just talk through some of the things that I love about this and highlight some of the key features. And then we're going to launch into a demo where I'll really like go step by step through a lot of things. One very important thing to highlight to you all is that this is available to all Tithely customers. So this comes at no additional cost over what you're currently already paying. If you use Tithely in any capacity, your members, your donors have access to this app. So a couple things that I really like about this is we make it very easy to link to church organizations through the app. To get onto the app, you have to link to the church. So in the first place, people are always going to be able to find a church very easily. This app is designed to make it really easy for donors to create and manage their one-time and recurring gifts through the app. So you know, if they have that power in their pockets now on an app-based experience. And then they can also edit account details too. So we're really trying to take the full scope of what a donor or a church member may want to do and put it into a single app that's in their phone. We know you can look at stats all over the place, just how important mobile-based giving is getting. And while our giving form is optimized for mobile and is certainly an acceptable thing to use for this, and while text giving is a great solution as well, having the app really appeals to a lot of users, especially younger generations who are starting to become more important to your organization's donation profile. So that's why we've really spent a lot of time on this app. So it's going to be launching on iOS in May. So we're going to be launching it through this month coming up here, and then we're launching on Android later this year. I want to take this moment to say that this app works or seamlessly integrates with our new giving form. And so while if you're still using the legacy form, that doesn't preclude your donors from using this new giving app, they certainly still can use it to experience the full benefits of the way that the two are interconnected. Being on the new giving form is going to really improve the experience for your donors. So if you haven't made that switch yet, highly encourage you to do that so that everybody can really reap those benefits. So with that, I'm going to dive into a demo, and I need you all to bear with me here for a second because I need to get my phone onto this webinar and then start sharing there. And while I go through this process, I'm going to take the opportunity to make fun of Zoom for not having a good tool available for this already. So I appreciate all of your patience, and we will be kicking off this demo in no time. So I'm close. We're close here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So when somebody launches into the Giving app, this is the first screen that they're going to see if they're not logged in. You can see here that you don't just have the opportunity to sign in, you can also create an account. Anybody that creates an account here in the app, that account will also work on the giving form, so they don't need to create a second account. It's all one account that works in between the two of these. You're going to notice too, as I go through this, I saw that John just commented on this related to something from Julie's demo. I'm also demoing in our QA environment. So there may be a couple things that just look a little funky. I'll call those out. They're related purely to the fact this is a testing environment and got nothing to do with the app itself. I'll be sure to call out anything that may be that way. So to create an account, there's two options, and I'll just click in here to show you. You can either sign up using mobile verification, or you can use email address. The reason that we chose to do this is that gone are the days of having to worry about remembering a password if you sign up for an account here. We allow people to sign up and put their phone number in, they get a code texted to them, and they get in. Same with email. They get a code emailed to them, and they get in. This makes it more convenient and quicker to sign in while also being a really enhanced security feature because it's multi-factor authentication. If you want to sign in, we do support email and password for sign in for those folks that have created their accounts either on the giving form or in the past and are coming over here, right? So there's three options here. You can sign in using phone number, you can use email, or you can try another way to get email and password. Today, I'm going to sign in using my phone number. That's the way I almost always default to signing in. So we'll just do that real quick. That is my real phone number. So if you want to reach out to me, you can go ahead and send me a text. I got the code. I hit the code and I continue. So next thing we do now is I'm going to find my church. There's two ways to do this. I can search by search name or address, or if I want, I can use my location. And this just searches in your general area. I'm going to use my location today. And you'll see this is the first place where you see like a bunch of weird church names in here. That's because we use this to test all the time. But I'm going to connect to my actual church, Trinity Church. I'm going to tap on that, and you see the screen that pulls up a little map and some of the key details about the church, and I hit confirm my location. And here we go. So I've been in this app before, attached to this church, so I land on the home screen. If this is my first time signing in, I actually go straight into our donation flow. So the very first thing you do when you launch into the app, if I hadn't have been on here today, that's what would have happened. But I was obviously prepping for this demo session, and so came in, and so I landed here. But if I want to launch into Give, you see that there's two options, two main options to start a Give here. I can tap Give now at the top or at the bottom. I've noticed that in my usage, my eye has been going to that top button, so I'm going to hit Give now. And now I launch into the giving flow. So I'm going to enter I hit continue, and now here's all my options to set up this gift. I'm going to cover the fees. I can choose from my funds, and my church is planting a garden. So we're going to hit Garden Fund. This is going to be a one-time gift. You'll see that I have multiple frequencies here. I will come back here and show you recurring gifts in a second. And then I can choose my payment method. I have one preloaded right now. I can add from here, but I will also show you other ways to add payment methods in a second here as well and talk about what we support. I'm going to tap to give. And it's processing. And you see the development banner in the top left there. That's because we're in a testing environment. That banner will not be there for your users. And it's given. And so now I can go back to the giving app. And if I want to check and make sure that that went through, I can go down to history. And this will show me my giving history And there you go. You see that $26.06 donation I just made to the garden fund. This isn't just my history contained to the Giving app. This is my history across all of our giving environments, right? So if I did this in the Giving form, if I did text giving, I would see that donation show up here. So this is one way in which the app allows you to control across all of your accounts. Are you control across all of your giving areas? It's one account, right? So this makes it really convenient for donors to see. They can also look at their recurring gifts and their one-time gifts. But I'm going to come back and also point out another really cool feature that we have here. So after you make your first donation to a church, you're going to see this quick give option show up. And what that is basically we look at the last donation that the donor made, the amount, the fund, and the payment method they used, and it makes it very easy to just tap and swipe to make a donation. So just another very quick way for them to go through if it's just their one-time gift. And we'll let this process. It went again successfully, so we'll go back to the Giving app. The next thing that I'm going to show you is managing payment methods. So you can add payment methods directly into the app and they will show up in the Giving form as well. There's multiple ways you can do it. You can do it during the Giving flow, or you can come down here to add this payment method card, or you can go into the menu and manage your payment methods. This is where you can also delete them. I'll just do it right here since that's what came up. And you see what we support here. We support credit card, Apple Pay, and bank account where available, depending on what's supported in your country. Of course, if you were on an Android device, this would be Google Pay. So I already have a credit card out of this account, so I'm going to go ahead and add Apple Pay. So I just tap Apple Pay, and it's the usual Apple Pay experience. There we go. And now we see this top Visa card here. This is my Apple Pay card. So let's go back and use that card that I just added to set up recurring donations. So there's a couple of ways that you can set up recurring donations. You can go through the Giving flow like I just did. You can tap this card in the middle here to add a recurring gift, or you can go into this recurring view and you'll see the ability to edit this one. But I'm going to go here to this card. I'm going to hit add a recurring gift. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set an amount. So I'm going to set $200 as my amount here and tap continue. I'm going to cover the fees on this one as well. Really loving that garden project that my church is doing. I want to make sure it's supported through the year, so I'm going to keep giving to that one. And then I have a range of options here. And a really neat thing about our app is you're not just setting your frequency, you're doing a couple of other things. So we have a range of frequency options here. I can set weekly, bi-weekly, 1st and 15th, or monthly. If I was to select weekly, I can choose the day of the week to start processing the gift, as well as the start date. So you see that I can go into the future here and pick any Thursday I want. If I wanted to do bi-weekly, it's the same thing. I can pick which day of the week and when in the future I want to start it. 1st and 15th, I get to pick which of those upcoming dates I want to start on. And then monthly, I can pick what day of the month I want to start, and then I can pick in the future. So I'm going to make this a weekly gift given on Sundays, and I'm going to start this coming Sunday. Let's apply that start date, and let's update to my Apple Pay payment method. I'm going to go ahead and give. Is successfully set up. And now at this point, and with my one-time donations too, I would be getting a receipt in my email. Just not sure yet because that works exactly the same as our normal email systems. But if I wanted to go and just confirm in the app that recurring gift was set up, I can tap recurring. And you'll see there you go at the top. There's that $200 weekly gift to the garden fund. If I wanted to go ahead and delete this old one that I had, I'm just going to hit delete. And you see that I have the option here to set to skip to a future gift, or I can just go ahead and delete it. And we're going to get rid of that one. There we go. And now it's gone. So let's go back over to the app. And just to show you what it looks like to remove a payment method, I'm just going to go ahead and delete my Apple Pay one here. And there we go. And I can always add it back. There's not a problem. I can go back in here, and with bank account, if it's available, this is going to look a little odd here because this is Stripe's test environment. But I would be able to search for my bank account here and link automatically. Or if I don't want to do it that way, down at the bottom, you'll see manual verification. Both completely safe and secure. Both use largely the same types of information. One is just username and password for your bank account. The other is your bank account number and your routing number. But both will work with our app. And then I'm just going to finish up by showing you a few of the other account management things I can do in here. So you'll notice I'm back on my home screen here. If I go to the bottom right here and hit menu, there's all sorts of things that I can do. I can tap to view my account. And that's going to pull up my profile with a range of options here, including changing my login phone number, my password, my 4-digit PIN. I can add a profile picture, change my contact email. I can view my church details real quick. I showed you this is how we get to payment methods. I can go directly to change PIN from here. It's just going to bring me back to my account details screen. See it again. All I got to do is hit change 4-digit PIN. Same with login phone number. And same with login email. It's just down here too. So we also do one really important thing for your users, which is, oh, you're not, oh, you're a little delayed behind my share. Down at the bottom here, you see this delete account button. This allows your church members, if they ever want to take control of their data, they feel like they don't want to use Tithely anymore, whatever it may be, they can delete here. And this is an important control because it gives them the feeling of security and also gives us a process by which they can get that deleted and it hopefully reduces the friction of them reaching out to you and then you reaching out to us and then us going in circles. This gives them the opportunity to do that. So I just wanted to call that out here. Very last thing I'm going to show you is donors are not locked into a single church here. And the reason I'm highlighting this is because, in my own case, a couple of weeks ago, we took my son down to Philadelphia to visit my parents. And I went back to my childhood church and I was there that Sunday and maybe I wanted to give. So I go to Trinity here in Massachusetts, but I go to New Life down in Glenside, Pennsylvania. I can tap in the top left corner on my icon and all I got to do is choose a new church. I can come in and I can search it. We have a test church here called Lobby Cafe. I'll search for that one. Came up. It doesn't have a logo or anything because it's just a test church. That's why it's not showing up here. Hit confirm location. Let's see if it'll connect. There we go. And you see the quick give's not here. If I was to make my gift to Lobby Cafe right now, quick give would show up right after. Then all I got to do is just go back over to when I get home from my trip to Philadelphia and search for Trinity. And I'm back on there. So to wrap up, if I was to head out here, I can just close the app. And then as long as if I'm away for more than 5 minutes, when I come back, I don't need to sign back in. Instead, I just need to provide a PIN number. Our sessions will last for up to a year. So as long as you never log out, you won't be asked to sign in until a year from now. If you do sign out, however, next time you come in, you'll just sign back in again. But we're protecting accounts even if you don't sign out because we're providing that PIN number for donors to just enter instead. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen over here. You all get to look at me. There we go. I'm going to get out of here with my phone. And now it's just the three of us again. So I think I'm handing back over to John now to answer any questions that weren't already answered that were asked of Julia or I. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to share this fantastic slide here of just the letters Q. Well, I guess and isn't a letter, but Q&A. I have been able to knock out most of this. We work so closely together on the finance side that I can answer most questions. A question just came through, Nick. I might be putting a spot. It's fine if you can't answer. Does history within Giving app show giving for all churches you've given to or only the ones selected? Do you happen to know the answer to that question?
Yes, it will show for the church that you're connected to at that given time. So you'll go in, and then if you do give across multiple churches, all you need to do is switch over churches and then go back to history, and you'll be able to see the giving history for that specific church as well.
Awesome. Thank you. That covers all of our questions. I'm sorry, I'm reading Cindy's question right now. Do we have to... All right, this is okay. If our church already uses the Tithely app for our church app, do we have to redo everything in the app and have all members download the new app, iPhone and Android? Okay, so you as a church, you have the option to have the Giving app or the church app. You could honestly have both. However, it creates kind of a confusing situation for your donors because you can set up your church app to be able to give through the church app. So honestly, the Giving app's really designed to be an app that churches can use if they don't have a church app. Obviously, it's super slick, and I completely understand why you're asking that question. But yeah, that is what you would do from a church app's perspective normally is you'd set up the church app, and eventually you're going to, if your church app is pointing at the old giving form, you're going to want to eventually set it up to point at the new giving form. But from there, nothing should really change for your donors. Like they'll still log in with the same account and everything. So hopefully that does answer your question. But I would personally not advise you to use the giving app and the church app both, because that creates a very confusing situations, because your donor would not really like one, they're probably going to delete one of the apps because they don't understand why they have them both, and your donor probably won't know what to do. So I've kind of tripped over myself saying the same thing 3 times. So I'm going to stop answering that question now. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, let me know. And yeah, let me see another one-side issue. What happens to customers? Okay. All right. So honestly, Cindy, actually, you know what? I think this is a great moment for me to switch over to the next slide. We have next steps. Instead of you watching me quickly read questions and try to answer them on the spot, we have support at Tithely. So please feel free to reach out to support at Tithely on the Tithely side. Since this is specifically for Tithely, probably don't need to reach out to support.breezechms.com for what we talked about today. But also, if you have questions about the Breeze side, that's who you can reach out to. Help.tithe.ly. Holy schmoly, do I love this site. This is where we have our KBAs. So every time we release a new update or a change or a new product or anything like that, the group of us here or any of the product managers is working alongside our CX department and our marketing department to make sure that we have all of those details updated in our knowledge base articles. That's what KBAs stand for. And help.tithe.ly is where you can find all the details about how anything works. So right now, if you search for admin batch giving, you shouldn't find anything about new admin batch giving. But as soon as admin batch giving launches next month, as you search for admin batch giving, you'll be able to find details about everything that you want to do. So remember that that is there as something that you can use to be able to get details. That obviously applies to the giving app as well. But I celebrate that and get super excited about it and say holy schmoly about that, because it is an excellent resource to be able to understand things as we're launching them. Canny feedback, this is something that you can actually access from your Tithely dashboard, it gives you the ability to dive into a space where you can just ask questions. And honestly, these questions are going directly to us. We are the people in there. It's not CX. It's actually, you're going to see Nick, you're going to see Julia in there. And depending if what side of the house, what the questions are about, you could also see Nico in there if you're asking about app and site things. But you're talking directly to product managers about the products they work on, asking questions, requesting. And honestly, it shouldn't be really support questions. That's what the support channel is for. But to asking about features and things like that. And it allows people to upvote. So it's a great place to go and submit ideas like that. And as product managers, we love that sort of thing. Let's see here. I have a thank you slide. We honestly have 20 minutes. Let's make this thing awkward, Nick and Juliet. I'm going to just toss questions out here since we have a second. So I know you both
John, I
thought
actually had one thing I forgot to mention. Our new app is going to support Spanish as well, so it will be available in Spanish language. We are hoping to add in support for Japanese and Chinese in the next couple of months, but I want to make a request here and say if there's any other languages you would like to see, Tithely is staffed with people from all around the world. However, we can't capture every language there. And so if you and your church is interested in seeing another language added into the giving app, or also on our new giving form, and you'd be willing to partner with us on that, we have a process for having volunteer churches come on and just help us get those things translated. So please feel free to reach out if you'd like to see a language supported, and we'll like to help us out in getting that in there. We'd really appreciate that help.
And with that, Nick, the next question is for you. All right. How do you switch over to the new giving app?
It's a great question. So we'll be releasing this app on iOS in May. And basically what's going to happen is it's going to be available in the App Store. So if users have their, if you're like me and you have your iPhone set to just automatically update, then the App Store is just going to go ahead and update that app for the user themselves. However, if users don't have auto update set for their apps, they just need to go into the App Store, search for Tithely, and they would just have the update button there available to them whenever we push this into the App Store in May. And it'll be about the same process for Android too. So like I said, all the donor needs to do is go in, hit that update button in the store, and they're good to go.
Sweet. Thank you. I'm going to skip to the bottom just because it applies to what you said before that. Alex Scalari, I so apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, said Portuguese would be great. So if you want to jot their name down as someone to reach out to about Portuguese, there you go, Nick.
Absolutely.
All right. Julia. Beverly asks, with batches, when you want to download transactions or get a summary report, can you select by admin batch ID?
Oh, that's a good question, Beverly. So right now, the way that that would work, I actually didn't walk through that in there, but when you're within that batch, you can actually export from that batch to be able to download all of the transactions that are within that batch. So as of right now, it's not searchable by the batch ID from the search bar specifically. But that's actually a great call out and something that we could look at incorporating in later on.
Sweet. All right. As of now, this is the final question. Julia, it's for you.
Oh boy.
If an address is updated during admin batch giving input, love that y'all are writing ABG, by the way. Love the shorthand of admin batch giving that way. Does it update in the people page? And for now, let's talk about, let's treat this as Tithely people, because I'm pretty sure that's what we're talking about here.
Yes. So when you update that address, it should show it would actually update that address within the people area as well.
Sweet. And correct me if I'm wrong, Julia, but something, if you use our old admin batch giving, our old admin batch giving worked like it's designed to update to people, but it's not actually syncing directly with people. And that's because you're inside of our old tightly legacy space. Now, the new admin batch giving is actually built into our new space. You got to see just how beautiful it looks and how it matches up with all the other stuff that we're doing in the new giving space. And another added bonus here is it is actually utilizing Tidely people. So there will, ooh, big yelling on my end. There will be a one-to-one connection there with admin batch giving and Tidely people. So not only updating there will it update, but anything you do inside of admin batch giving should be working directly with people. Is that right?
Yes, it's also really great because when you go to search for a donor in your system, say you have two John Smiths in your system, but when you search, it will actually pull from people and show the address or the email address or phone number that's on file for both of those people, so that then you can easily identify which person that gift should actually go. So yes, it is working alongside people like that.
Awesome. Okay, we had one more question come through. I'm actually gonna answer this one, so y'all can just take it easy. The question was how to run giving reports for donors. Honestly, this really depends on what you're trying to do. There's a bunch of ways you can run giving reports. So as Julia said, as admin batch giving, our new admin batch giving launches, you'll be able to run a report on that batch. But the number one way, me and Julia, what I love, by the way, Julia years and years ago was in our CX department. So Nick and I get to lean on her for anything like this as we state something and then ask her. I believe that the number one way that a church would do this, though, is from the transaction sections of giving. So you'd go into giving transactions, and this is where it would load all the transactions for the church. And this could be scan checks, it could be anything. And admin batch giving, all of that. And then you could search for a donor by name, and you can use all kinds of other filters. You can arrange the columns, and then you can select to export. And the export will actually respect how you change the columns, what columns you chose to show. The way that it's so easy to customize how that section works makes it the best area for you to generate exports, unless there's some special kind of report like based off of a batch you want to do. So there are reasons you'd go elsewhere, but that's where I would advise if you're going to run a report on donors, the best place would be go to giving transactions. You agree with that, Julia? Sweet. Oh my goodness, the questions keep coming. We got 13 minutes. You guys don't get off the hook. Let's see here. Be sent to church members explain these new. Oh, is there some written instructions that can be sent to church members to explain these new functions? So on the admin batch giving front, that's obviously purely a admin side thing. So unless I misunderstand the question, I don't believe it really makes. I don't believe that question applies as much for that side of the house. Though on your side of the house, Nick, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Don't worry, man. On the giving app side of the house, actually, this is great feedback. So right now. That to my knowledge, there's nothing specifically designed for sending out to donors. This is something I promise you, as soon as I get off this call, we'll be pinging marketing about this specific thing to get an understanding of what we're planning to do here in CX. So
I actually
thank
have
you so
some
much.
good news here, John.
Oh my goodness, I should have just tossed it to you instead of talking.
As soon as this call is over, I'm going to be recording a second demo, which is more geared towards the actual donor. So there'll be a video walkthrough, and that will be accompanied by written instructions that will go into the Tithely Help Center.
Sweet.
Giving app.
Better than my babbling. Thank you, Nick. All right. That's it, y'all. I hit the end of the questions. I'm actually going to start wrapping this thing up. Thank you so much for joining us, for the questions throughout, for the talk inside chat. This has been so much fun. It's so exciting. I personally know. So I started working in the finance space end of 2020. I know you all have wanted admin batch giving updated since then. So like this is massive. Also, all of the changes to Giving app are so huge, and like something Nikki may have mentioned this. I was answering Q&A so much that I did miss a lot. The Giving app is built to be much more flexible than the old Giving app. The Giving form was the same as we talked through the Giving form last year. So something exciting here is just the flexibility. So a multiple of you ask about multi-fund giving, the ability to like in a single flow give to multiple funds. Your question, a very valid question. That's available in the old app, in the old form, but not available in this one. That's because we're completely rebuilding how everything works, because we can build things to be so much more flexible. And so this, wow, everything you saw here is so exciting. I said this with Giving form, and hopefully you've noticed lots of changes happening with the Giving form since we launched. We've been iterating on that thing like crazy, and that's compared to the way we were able to iterate on our older Giving form. And we will now be able to do that with the Giving app and with admin batch giving. And that's why admin batch giving going into external organizations is actually an iteration on admin batch giving. And we're already talking about that, even though admin batch giving isn't here yet, just because now we have the ability to so quickly iterate and apply feedback and everything. So thank you so much for coming here, for listening, for your feedback, and for working with us to help people grow in their generosity. So with that, I'm going to close this off. Thank you so much, Julia. Thank you so much, Nick. Have a great day, all.
Bye, all.